Welcome to episode 1 of the Bandwagon Fan.
We did it. Am I supposed to introduce myself?
Yep.
I'm trying to pull up the thing. I'm AJ.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Josh.
Are you, though?
Allegedly. This is the show where we talk all things pop culture. We'll be covering topics concerned with comics, video games, film, TV shows, and books. Like many of those of you listening, we love consuming these different works of art in various mediums. We thought, why just be consumers when we can add something to the conversation? We'll be sharing our thoughts and feelings about different properties, what we like and what we don't. But it's not going to stop there. We also want to hear from you, the listener. Tell us when you like what we say and why. As our name might suggest, we aren't necessarily experts on the topics we discuss. So tell us when we're wrong. Tell us what kinds of things you're watching, playing, or reading. Tell us what we should explore next. And this isn't limited to those of you who are hardcore fans. We welcome the casuals and newbies as well. So, let's nerd out together. Let's get started by checking out some of the latest news in pop culture. AJ, what do you have for us?
Nothing. I came absolutely unprepared.
Cool. I'm just gonna dip then. I'm out.
No, yeah, we had a lot of stuff go down this week. First thing I think of notice was Spider-Man No Way Home trailer came out. I think it's the final teaser trailer. But No Way Home trailer came out and it revealed a lot of stuff. Have you guys both gotten a chance to watch it?
Let's just pause real quick. What's Spider-Man for the people who don't know?
Spider-Man is a man who's made of spiders. And it's actually a horror film about a boy who progressively starts to deteriorate into many spiders. It's very scary.
It honestly sounds terrifying. I will make sure to never watch it.
That could be. Sam Raimi needs to do a comeback in the Spider-Man movie, but that's the Spider-Man movie. Do you guys remember that movie? It was like I think it was like called like Bright or something, and it was like it was like a horror film, like but Superman, like a horror film. Yeah, it's awesome.
Wait, I have to see that.
You gotta watch it. It's like Superman's this kid, but he's like evil. It's like Superman meets the Omen. And he's like this like evil little monster kid. It's amazing. But yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home, the teaser trailer, the second teaser trailer came out. And if you guys got a chance to watch it, there's a lot in there. I think everyone knew that they brought back the OG Doc Ock from the Sam Raimi films. And this one, they kind of revealed that, it was confirmed. It was rumored before that Jamie Foxx might be in this one, but it's 100% confirmed now. We literally see him in the trailer. We also noticed that Sandman's in it. The Lizard is in it. I don't remember which Spider-Man movie the Lizard was on. I think there was the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I tried to erase those from my memory.
Yeah, the first one. I think we all tried to erase.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, there's a lot of rumors about what Sony has been trying to kickstart this Sinister Six movie for a long time. So they believe that they're using this as like the groundwork for a Sinister Six movie. So people noticed that on top of Green Goblin kind of being also confirmed in this movie, where you hear Willem Dafoe's voiceover at the end of the trailer, that there may be a sixth villain. Maybe it's Venom.
That's what I'm hoping.
I think that's a lot of people think it might be. I know there was an end credit scene. Spoiler alert! I know there was an end credit scene where they kind of hinted that the Venom universe is connected to the Spider-Man MCU universe a little bit. So maybe Venom is in this movie as well. But
I hope it's just Tom Hardy.
It's not even him as Venom.
It's him as Bronson. If you've never seen that,
that is a great movie.
Through the hallway naked, covered in grease.
I would love if this multiverse wasn't just relegated to the MCU, but it was like all the actors, all their old roles, like Eric Foreman from that 70s show is the Venom that shows up, but it's Eric Foreman, not even Topher Grace. I would just love that. That'd be amazing. Peter has to choose between one of three Mary Janes now, which is kind of awkward because one of them would be played by their OG Mary Janes, like it's an adult. So I would just love these, like all the like Aunt Mays meet together for like one of those anonymous meetings, but like all about like Uncle Ben. Like I think there's a lot of space to play with this multiverse thing here.
I love it.
Yeah, the other thing that's kind of interesting too is that so Sony has been kind of like, oh yeah, I mean it's Spider-Man against 6 villains, whatever. But obviously, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are going to be in this movie, right? I mean, like,
how could they not?
How could they not? Well, it's funny you say that. In the trailer, in the Brazil version of the trailer. So remember at the end of this trailer when you see Spider-Man going up against the Sandman and Electro and was it the Lizard, and he's going up against all 3 of them. If you look at the shot, if you look at the US version of the trailer first of all, and you look at that shot, you'll notice that the Lizard and Electro, they're not actually facing Spider-Man. They're actually looking and poising to fight somebody else. Turns out in the Brazilian version of the trailer, you can actually see the Lizard getting kicked, but you can't. But it's like you can't see what he's getting kicked by. So you just see his like body like jerk in a very awkward fashion. So people think that Sony CGI'd out at least one other Spider-Man. And there's another shot that, it's the internet. You can't hide this stuff from the internet, right? So there's another shot when Spider-Man like jumps on like the Statue of Liberty, but you can see an edited image, like a ripple next to him. And people think that Sony's editing out the images of the Spider-Man because that's who's in the movie. What do you guys think?
I'm down for that. I'm cool with that.
I mean, I agree that they had to have known. There's no way they're like, no. I mean, I will say though, I think the Brazilian, like the fact that it was on one trailer that was released, I'm assuming hours before, and then they quickly, pushed out the fixed trailer. Maybe they did that on purpose. I don't know, but it's pretty obvious. We know, we basically know that they're going to be in the movie. I don't see how you couldn't put that together. So,
which I'm fine. Like I'm hoping they keep it under wraps for as long as possible, despite all the leaks. Same with, we talked about Venom maybe being in this movie.
Yeah.
I hope that's the case. And I hope there's no more trailers. So there's no indication he's going to be in the movie. Yeah. But then he shows up, not just as like a cameo, but like an active role. I would love that. Big studios typically don't take those risks because they think audiences are dumb and they want to show us everything. So I am hoping to see some little surprises in the film.
Yeah, see, that's my issue with trailers is I typically don't like watching trailers because I don't like to see what's going on. So I do hope that they have something spoiled. I would love to see Carnage, but I really doubt that that's going to be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I ultimately, I've always kind of felt that trailers usually end up harming the movie more than doing good, because then you're showing too much, and then you go to the theater and you just are waiting to see those scenes come to fruition. And half the time, movies that are now, I mean, the new trend is throwing in scenes in the trailer that aren't even in the movie. Now, sometimes it could work out, but sometimes people are like, oh, okay, well, none of this really happened. So, but yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I guess we'll have to wait and see if, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, they're much older now, so that's also going to be pretty funny. But we'll have to see if they're in there. In case you didn't get enough of your MCU fix, Disney also had their Disney Plus Day, because that's a thing. And in their Disney Plus Day, they peppered us with a fury of TV shows. Just to name some of them, they're making a Moon Knight TV show.
That's
Secret
actually
Invasion.
Cool.
Yeah. Moon Knight, Secret Invasion, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, which I'm going to tell you guys right now looks like the worst of all of them.
When has She-Hulk ever been, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but is there any good She-Hulk?
I mean, it's literally like single female lawyer. I'm like, what is this? Like, this is crazy. Like, what kind of show is this? And they even have like a callback in the mini trailer of like her being like, "You wouldn't like me when I'm angry." I'm like, we don't know you. We don't know what happens when you're angry. They're making a Agatha House of Harkness show, which is odd, but okay.
That's a very interesting move, in my opinion.
I actually don't know what that is.
So in what was the Scarlet Witch show called again? Jeez.
WandaVision.
WandaVision. There we go. Agatha Harkness is spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched that, but honestly, if you're listening to this, I mean, come on. But yeah, Agatha Harkness is the villain. So that's played by, I think it's Julia Hahn. If you've seen Step Brothers, she's the crazy sister-in-law.
Oh yeah,
I remember.
Yeah, so, I just remember the bathroom scene.
Or Parks and Rec. I mean, she's a wonderful actress. She's hilarious. But yeah, so it's about her. Because if you didn't watch WandaVision, then just to inform you that while she's the villain, she wasn't killed off. She was basically put in like a purgatory, and it's kind of strongly hinted that the purgatory probably isn't a permanent one. So that I'm assuming that's what that's going to be about. Then they're making this Spider-Man freshman year show, which I have to assume is a cartoon.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I can't imagine Tom Holland's like, all right, be younger.
I'm such a fan of the Spider-Man cartoons, so I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that?
If it's like OG Spider-Man, yeah, why not?
Yeah, I'm such an N64 fan, so like the ultimate, I think it's Ultimate Spider-Man that's based off, or the N64 game's based off of.
So hang on to your nostalgia, because we got something for you real quick here.
Awesome.
But to move down this list, we have something called Echo. I gotta be honest with you, y'all. I don't know what that is. I don't know who that is. I don't know what Echo is. Is this a superhero? Is this like a street vendor? Is it a robot?
So I didn't see the announcement for that one, but I believe, and if you're listening and I'm wrong, tell me, that Echo is a Native American hero who there's a current run where she inhabits, or I guess the Phoenix Force inhabits her. Okay. And Taboo is one of the writers on that.
The same Phoenix Force from
Jean Grey. Yeah. Okay. Like at some point, it goes into this woman who's like, I think she is a deaf street fighter, and she's Native American, and then she gets the Phoenix Force. I believe I could be totally wrong. I think that's what this is. But there's a current comic series right now, and Taboo is one of the writers on it. It's not my cup of tea, but who knows?
I mean, they're digging deep in the bag for this one.
Sounds cool to me. I love the obscure stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think it's that big of a deal, but I'm just like, what's Echo? Who is Echo? So yeah, that's one of those. Oh, this one I thought was really funny. I Am Groot. Another cartoon, just Baby Groot, baby. Just Baby Groot. It's just the adventures of Baby Groot. I have to assume Rocket Raccoon's in there because I cannot imagine watching a show just Groot going Groot all day. So yeah,
it's got to be a kid's show, right? Like
100%,
like
100%
like Mickey's Clubhouse level.
But it's just Groot. It's literally just Groot.
Yeah, gosh.
I mean, if
they're tapping into that cocoa melon. Yeah. They're tapping into that cocoa melon market for those babies. Cocoa melon.
See, like half of these I didn't realize were coming out. The first two you mentioned, I knew. The one I'm most excited for is Moon Knight, because there is a comic run out right now, and it's fantastic. It's the only Marvel book I'm pulling right now, like consistently. Ooh. It's so good. I'm really excited for it. Plus, Oscar Isaac. I think he's a great actor.
Oscar Isaac is a great actor. I think that Oscar Isaac is he's underutilized as an actor.
For sure. Yeah, I'm excited for that one. The other ones, I guess we'll see.
Yeah. The other shows are Ironheart, which I also don't know what that is.
That is, I think her name's Riri Williams.
Rihanna?
So she becomes Iron Man, but goes by the name Ironheart. Because I haven't read that particular run. So I know nothing about
Disney's going deep in that bag.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
I remember it came out a few years ago.
Right, she did. I don't know
much about her. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
I remember what the first cover of the issue looked like, but I never read it. I just remember it was like a huge deal in 2016. That's when it launched.
Now, Marvel has been leaving a lot of breadcrumbs for this one. but Marvel Zombies
Ooh, I
is,
forgot.
is
Yeah,
also a TV show, and Marvel's been leaving a lot of breadcrumbs for Marvel Zombies, just just like flecks. Like I wouldn't even call them crumbs, just like those like little flecks you get like off your burger. Just like they've been leaving some of those opening a door for there to be a Marvel Zombies.
have you guys seen What If?
I know that there's like an episode where the zombies are kind of introduced formally.
There is a comic series too. It was written by Jonathan Hickman, who did Walking Dead.
Guy I know,
and he also did East of West, I believe.
I
think it was Hickman and Dragata.
Right?
Yes.
But so yeah, they did a zombie comic series. It's so weird, man. It's from the viewpoint of the zombies, and it's like after the apocalypse has happened. Everybody's already a zombie, and it's really disturbing. Like the whole thing with Black Panther, like that happens in the comic. And it's just like, I don't know. I was not a fan of it. It's very like dark and like I don't know, kind of like tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's worth checking out. I read it digitally, but like I wouldn't probably buy it ever. So I'm curious to see if they do a show,
what they do, like where they take it,
like what they do with it, and What If I thought was fine. I thought it was an improvement from the comics, but
I'm shocked they're making this like a TV show.
Yeah, I mean, zombies are always going to be a hot, property to put out there.
I just can't imagine a show with. Well, I mean, I think there already was a TV show on Netflix where it was like zombies from their viewpoint, but it just never comes off interesting to me from that perspective.
There's also what was that movie? Man, I'm forgetting this movie. But the kid, he was a zombie, but he falls in love.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but then it's like he's a zombie, so like the zombie joke is always like, I get it. Okay, yeah, he's a zombie. He likes brains.
Oh, I'm thinking of iZombie, which I never saw.
My issue is like, where are the stakes in this? If everybody's a zombie, like, why do I care? Like, what's at risk now?
Well, it's kind of like the Secret Invasion, right? It's like, okay, well, is everybody a double agent? Like, I mean, am I a what are they, Skrulls?
Yeah, Skrulls.
Am I a Skrull? I mean, like, what's happening here? So we'll see. I'm surprised they made that one a TV show. Yeah. I thought for sure that was going to be a major plot point in the movie, but I guess what they're trying to do, they're just trying to weave some of these smaller narrative webs through TV shows. To A, drive traffic to Disney Plus, and to be able to build out the MCU without having to make 17 movies. Which brings me to the most shocking reveal, X-Men 97. I'm
excited for this.
Wait, what's happening with X-Men 97?
I'm holding my breath with a little bit of fear.
So here's the thing. If my understanding is correctly, this is not a reboot, right?
Right.
This is like literally the X-Men in 97. So it's like it just takes place in 1997, which I think is dope. I think so. So the reason why I started this off with Spider-Man is because a really popular theory running amok on the internet is that Spider-Man is trying to send all these villains back to their original universes, right? He doesn't actually want to kill them. He just wants to send them back to their universes. He wants to essentially give them a chance at redemption. And so the end battle may not even be against the villains. It may be against some bigger threat, because people are surmising based on the trailer that Doctor Strange accidentally like rips open a bigger hole in the multiverse. And as a result, they think this is how the MCU is going to introduce the X-Men, because, and this is where all this stuff comes full circle. Kevin Feige's first like foray into like film and like actually like having like a prominent role was actually in the original X-Men movie, which took place, the end set piece, the third act took place on the Statue of Liberty. So that's why people think that this might be some weird callback to that, because a lot of this fight happens on the Statue of Liberty. We haven't heard a mouse peep about how the X-Men are going to be introduced into the MCU. So they think that this tearing of the multiverse, and that will ultimately lead into the Doctor Strange movie, will also kind of explain why there are mutants now when there weren't mutants before. Because when you think about it, what wouldn't make sense for all of a sudden Professor X and Magneto to be like, "What's up, y'all? We were just hiding in the cut. We were just chilling. We were kind of busy with our own stuff, but we are here to fight." Like that wouldn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
So the kind of theory is that like whatever resolution happens at the Doctor Strange movie, this essentially hypothetically merging of the multiverse is how mutants will just kind of pop back into the foray here. So we'll see.
I'm here for that. That's really
that
cool.
sounds pretty awesome.
Too. Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty clever. So, X-Men 97 may just be this. It may just be this the story about X-Men in a universe or in a multiverse, whatever. And we may see some of those characters ripped from that storyline into the current MCU. So I don't think you'll see. You'll probably see like a young Scott. A young Cyclops, a young Jean Grey, maybe a pre-Beast. Like you may see some of those characters in the X-Men show. So we'll see what happens with that.
Nice.
That sounds really cool to me.
Yeah,
I love X-Men.
So sticking on this Marvel theme, guys. I think we should probably transition to talk about some movies. I watched Shang-Chi, The Legend of Shang-Chi. Did you guys watch The Legend of Shang-Chi?
I watched it when it first came out.
Okay.
So when was that?
Like July? June? When was the release for that movie?
It was a while ago, yeah.
I've been trying to see it. I'm still.
You didn't get to watch it. Oh man. Well, I mean, I will say that I have this real love affair with Marvel content because I personally just feel like we are beaten over the head. In America, we get more of Marvel than the Bible, and that says a lot, right? So like we're just clubbed over the head with this Marvel content, and so sometimes you're just like, all right, I'll go watch this, okay, but you don't really know if there's going to be anything in there for you. I personally loved this movie. I think I was telling you guys before, after I watched it, this might be my favorite Marvel movie. I don't think it's like the best Marvel movie ever made, but I think this is definitely my personal favorite. Just because I love Kung Fu movies so much. And so like this pays so much homage to like what Kung Fu movies are.
Which I love Kung Fu movies, especially like 70s, 80s stuff.
If you love those kind of movies, I think you will love this movie. Marvel did a really good job of making this feel like its own movie until the third act. Marvel cannot help itself. And they're like, guys, people won't know what's happening if we don't have a giant set piece.
Yep.
And it's kind of forced. It's kind of cheesy. But for the most part, I'd probably say 90. It's the same way I felt about Black Panther. 90% of the movie, I personally felt it was phenomenal. Personally, for me, I loved the way they told the story of Shang-Chi. It's not like he's this guy. He's got to learn how to figure out his powers. It's like he knows what to do. When push comes to shove, it's go time for this guy. Okay, I don't have to sit here waiting for him to figure out. No. He has this power inside of him the whole time, and he's ready to go.
Yeah. I want to check it out, especially from a different perspective. Tony, I'm probably gonna butcher his last name, but like he's the main star, right? The main guy.
He is. I think he's the biggest actor. Yeah. So a lot of these actors and actresses, I have to assume they're probably bigger in China than they are here.
Well, that's the thing. So
yeah.
Tony is in one of my favorite movies of all time called In the Mood for Love, which is it's like a romance drama by the director Wong Kar-wai, and he's just like I haven't watched very many films that I think are better than his work, and it's very, very different than like the style of a film. Like it's very like
I think
almost
that will
nobody
shock
talks
you.
at it.
I think you'll be surprised though. I think that actor, I think his name is Zhu Wengwu. He does a really, really good job at playing this. I guess I don't want to give it away since you haven't watched it, but he does a really good job of playing a villain, but you could understand where this villain is coming from. And it's an incredibly grounded component because he is the Shang-Chi's dad, and he does love his son. It's not like they're at these odds where they hate each other, but what brings them up together and separates them, something that I found interesting, and I don't know, Josh, maybe you can probably add to this. Something I really thought that was so interesting about the movie is that the theme I felt was that you can't run away from your past and you can't run away from your family. Like that's kind of how I felt like those themes kind of played out throughout the movie. And I feel like it was so interesting to see how like trauma really pushed both the dad and Shang-Chi to do these things that they both didn't want to do. They from their own perspective, they're like at odds with each other. But the reality is that they feel the same trauma from, losing, Tony lost his wife and Shang-Chi lost his mother. So that trauma really like creates this wedge. And I think it really did a good job of like, in real life, not to get too deep, but in real life, like we all go through these like traumatic situations and we never talk about it with our parents. We're just like something bad happens and we all just kind of go, all right. And then we move on and then our life may spiral just because we never have this simple conversation of like, how did that make you feel? You know what I mean? So it's very compelling in that regard. It's not this typical, well, it tried not to be this typical beat 'em up Marvel movie. And I applaud it for that,
Yeah, no, that sounds like an interesting concept. And I just honestly have to respect Marvel for picking like A-list actors from China. Like they could have easily just gotten, not that there's anything wrong with getting like new actors, but they could have easily went kind of cheap and been like, oh, a lot of the Americans aren't going to know that these actors are famous. So
cool. they gave it the Black Panther treatment. They gave it the Coco treatment. They were like, hey, we're gonna let people who know what they're talking about talk about it.
Well, like I've seen Just Mercy, which is the director. Destin's film. I didn't realize
Destin. Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoyed that. If you guys haven't seen it, I say watch it. I give it a thumbs up. I'm not too big into like giving a movie like a score per se because I feel like there's no nuance really between a 6 and an 8. Like, did you like it then? So I just usually say like go watch it, thumbs up. Don't watch it. Don't waste your time. Wait till it's on Netflix or something. But I highly recommend, if you can see it in theaters, watch it in theaters. Watch it on Netflix. Excuse me, not Netflix. Disney Plus. Yeah. We're gonna have to have like a rolling list of like streaming services as they pop up, and of course get inevitably bankrupt. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. And then speaking of the infinite amount of TV shows. The last thing I just wanted to touch on real quick, it won't be too long. The Wheel of Time TV show comes out tomorrow. Have you guys seen that?
I've seen trailers. I had no idea what it was until you told me.
Yeah, I'm excited. I actually want to watch the show.
Really?
Really? Yeah.
That's really good to hear. I think a lot of people will like it overall. To those who don't know about it, The Wheel of Time is based on a series of books written by Robert Jordan. Robert Jordan, those are the books behind me back there for those who can see me. But like Robert Jordan wrote these books over the course of like 20 something years before he passed away, and then it was finished by another author. I think his name is Brandon Sanderson. But essentially, the first book, I'm assuming is what the first season is going to be about, is called The Eye of the World, and this is essentially, to surmise it as best as I can, it's a coming of age story, right? Like most of these stories written by, these fantasy stories written, 80s, 70s, 60s. It's a coming of age story about a boy. His name is Randall Thor. And, he's being told that, he's going to have to make some choices because he may be, the chosen one, I guess you can call it. And so that's what the story is really about. I know that Amazon is trying to Game of Thrones it a bit, so we'll see what they do with it. I'm really excited to watch it because I think it will be better in a media form than it would be reading it, because there's just some things when you read it you're just like, man, this is a drag.
So you said it's a coming of age story. Are we looking at like a Luke Skywalker type of thing, or like a Ciri from The Witcher?
I would say more of like a Luke Skywalker type of thing.
Okay. Cool.
You know, like Game of Thrones, this story sprawls to many different characters and many different parts of this world. So I would say that that's where its comparisons to Game of Thrones are, that it's a branching story. This first season will essentially start that branch. And, you know, I'm assuming if the show, I mean, they already got picked up for a second season. So as the show continues, it will branch off into these more complicated components of the story. But yeah, I would say it's more like a Star Wars type of thing where this person finds out that like, hey, you got a power inside of you. I think where this is different, and I know Robert Jordan said that this was the theme that he had when he wrote the book and wrote the series, is that a lot of times when your protagonist is being presented with this information that you are the chosen one, right? That person is usually, you know, typically you see that this person is trying to help you be the person you want to be to benefit the world or benefit that main character. And so what Robert Jordan does really well is that the main character is realizing that everyone is trying to get him to this place for their own benefit.
Oh, wow.
Not necessarily to save the world, but for their own purposes. You know what I mean? Their own device, trying to fulfill their own devices. And I think that's where it differs from something like a Game of Thrones, because now you're sitting like, well, this person, they do good things. They say they're a good guy, but there's a bad way they're going about this. So are they really a good guy? That's where the intrigue of the show really, I think, will work for a lot, of people.
It's fantasy, right? Based on what I saw. Okay.
Yeah, it's fantasy.
Okay.
It's fantasy, high fantasy. So, you know, if you don't like that stuff, I don't recommend jumping in unless the TV show really dumbs it down. You're gonna have to be sitting there with like a thesaurus, being like, "What's an Aes Sedai? What is the one power? How is it different from the true power?" Like
that's gonna be me.
It's just there's a lot of terms that are going to be used in here. So, you know, hopefully it works out. Maybe next week we could talk about it. I'm really hoping it's good, but we'll see.
I do too. I have like a theory to why I think they're launching this right now too.
Oh, why?
I feel like it's Amazon's test run before their Lord of the Rings TV show. Oh, because they haven't done like a big epic fantasy series yet, and I feel like this is a good way to gauge.
Good point. That's a good point. They're using this as like like, oh, they did not like this. They did not like this, guys. Let's go back. Let's work this out. But it's gonna be weird because we have the Wheel of Time, we have the Game of Thrones prequel show from HBO, right, and then we have the Lord of the Rings TV show. It's very weird. I'm like, these shows are going to have to try to start doing something different from each other, because a lot of these themes kind of melt into one another because all these authors base some of their stories on the previous author. So
that's awesome.
I don't know. That's got to be weird.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Like an interesting time when all those shows are out. Because, like, I mean, I've read Game of Thrones, I've read Lord of the Rings, and the show is going to be from the Silmarillion, which I don't know. I would love to see a lot of like the yeah. Let me put on my nerd glasses. I'd like to see like some of like the creation. Basically, Tolkien wrote like a history book for his world, and the events of the Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion take up like a page, like half a page, I think, which just shows you the scope of his mythology. It's insane. Cool.
That's pretty cool.
When the show comes out, if they release another trailer, maybe we can talk more about it and like what source material they're pulling from. Like Lord of the Rings is like a little speck in all the stuff that Tolkien had going on in his head.
Jeez.
Yeah,
it's gonna be interesting. Guys, let's talk about comics.
Let's get it.
Comics? What are those?
I don't know, man. You guys tell me.
You know,
Alex.
You know, it's that thing on Disney Plus. You know, with the words, like the subtitles.
I knew it. Yeah, I knew it. Hold on.
You've watched comics.
Let me re-up my subscription then.
Yeah. I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Disney Plus, they're just like, hey, so we still do comics, but we just have words and moving pictures to them, and it's just going to be a movie, but they're like tricking people into
We laugh
comics.
about this, but watch that be a thing one day.
I know. Or some poor person's reading a comic and they're like, I wish that they could do this with visuals. If only that was possible.
Don't joke about it, bro. That's gonna happen. Yeah.
Well, I know.
What do you got for us, man?
I know a lot of people maybe are either new to comics or have read comics but get really overwhelmed with the fact that there's just so much out there. And like, if you show up at a comic book shop at any point, yeah, there's like even of one series, you could just be like, all right, I'm going to do Batman. And then there's like 15 different variations of Batman out as a new standalone series. And like, even though I love reading comics, I get kind of overwhelmed, and I like to typically find a series that just starts completely from scratch. It's like, it's an easy way to kind of like start new. You kind of give the chance of like starting with an author that maybe hasn't written a lot or has written a lot in a different genre. So I found the series that came out last week through Image Comics called What's the Furthest Place from Here? It's by, I actually didn't know either of these people, which Josh, I have a feeling you would know. It's, why am I drawing a blank right now?
What's the name of the comic?
Boss and Matthew Rosenberg. The comic's kind of wordy. It's called What's the Furthest Place from Here?
Okay. What's the furthest place from here? It is a long name.
Yeah, it's weird to say because every time I say it, I'm like, hold on, let me like breathe for a second.
Hopefully, when they get fans, they'll just abbreviate it.
Yeah, or you're gonna have to say it really fast, like, oh yeah, I'm on issue 35 of What's the Furthest Place from Here?
WTFPFH.
Yeah. But it's cool because like I was looking at Tyler Boss and Matthew Rosenberg, and both of them have done like, I see like Tyler Boss has done some like mainly comics that are like Archie and Riverdale. Like he did Archie meets the B-52s.
Wait, and then there's a Riverdale comic series?
Yeah, right here it says Riverdale South Side Serpents.
So is it like the TV show Riverdale, or is it like just the actual Archie universe style stuff?
Judging from the cover, it looks like it's the TV show variation of it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Okay.
I mean, I know Archie's still like, I didn't know people still read Archie.
I didn't know people did either, dude. I did not know that. I'm like, whoa, look at Archie with a following. Crazy.
Yeah, but I think Riverdale kind of brought it back. So Tyler Boss has done that. Matthew Rosenberg has done some DC comics I've seen with like variations of Batman, but he has also done Archie, which makes me think that, I don't know if they met at an Archie fan club. Oh no, I see they're both on Archie meets the B-52s and Archie meets Ramones, which sounds...
That sounds fun.
Sounds like a comic.
So help me understand, because I never really like, the only reason why I knew Archie was a comic, and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they used to have like little strips and bubblegum of the Archie comic, or was it like Cracker Jack or something like that? Like
Bazooka, is that what
Bazooka
it is?
Joe.
Was it Bazooka? Yeah, it was either like a Bazooka Joe or Cracker Jack or something like that. But they used to have like these little strips. But as a kid, I used to think like, oh, okay, that's where they come from. So I used to think some crazy person's out there like stitching.
Yeah, it's Bazooka.
Was it okay? So I used to think some crazy person was like has like the container of Bazooka gum and they're just stitching together the comic, because I thought that was like the thing. Like, oh, you must literally have to assemble your own comic. I'm like, that's stupid. I didn't know it was an actual comic series.
Now you know.
I didn't know that. Yeah. So like, what is it? What's Archie about? Like
that's the thing. I don't really know. I know it's like Adventures of Archie and his friends, but they have so many weird spinoffs. Like I went to a comic store like a few years ago, and the owner was like, I feel like I could guess what kind of comics you're into. And I was like, all right, it surprised me. And he showed up with Archie versus Predator. And I was like, this is a little too intense for me. Yeah, it's a real thing. Look it up.
Archie versus Predator. That's amazing.
How would Archie even stand a remote chance against Predator?
He's like, we have to get to the chopper. Archie, why are you talking like that, man?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I guess if there's a market for it, it's going to be there.
Archie versus Predator. Man, that's crazy.
I feel like
Archie catches a sexual assault charge.
Oh gosh.
Archie gets canceled. That's yeah.
Oh
we just haven't got to those comics yet. We haven't found his tweets.
We'll do a standalone episode on just controversial Archie comics.
Archie, I can't wait, Dad. Archie meets his PR agent.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I guess I don't know if this is true, but I'm just guessing that maybe Tyler Boss and Matthew Rosenberg. If you're listening, you can correct us. But I feel like maybe they met over an Archie comic. That's what I'm going to tell everyone.
And now they're writing about the apocalypse.
Yeah. Well, that's what's cool with what's the furthest place from here is I feel like there's a lot of apocalypse style comics that exist. I mean, you think of like Walking Dead, or you think of like Gerard Way's universe. I mean, not really like Umbrella Academy, but he has like for people who don't know, Gerard Way is like the singer of My Chemical Romance. A lot of MCR characters are based off of comics that Gerard Way has written. So like when I saw this, it made me think of like the Fabulous Killjoys, which is a cool series. But this one was cool because it's all based around music. So even just like reading the basic paragraph description of it, the world has ended. All that remains are gangs of children living among the ruins. But Sid believes there must be something more out there. When she disappears into the wastelands, her gang will risk everything to bring her home. A story about the things that matter most: your survival, your loved ones, and your record collection.
That's
interesting.
Yeah, that's what, honestly, the record collection part kind of got my attention. And then when I looked at the issue, I saw that they like do each release is actually coming out with a 7-inch vinyl of 2 punk bands that are like writing music for the series, which is kind of crazy.
So a full like an actual vinyl, like
yeah.
What
I didn't get the vinyl with the issue I got because it's not out yet, but you can pre-order, and the songs aren't even out on Spotify. Like they're exclusively for the record. I mean, they might release it eventually.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
it's kind of like when the Wu-Tang Clan made that one album and they just didn't. It's not released anywhere, and then they sold it to they put it to bid, and Martin Scully's like, yeah, I'm gonna pay he paid like some crazy like $2.6 million for it.
Yeah, he paid at least $1 million.
Then it got seized by the feds, and so now it's just out there. There's just this there's just this album that just no one's ever gonna listen to. It's nuts.
Well, I mean, whoever runs the evidence room is probably listening to it.
You have to admit that agent who raided the place is like, I gotta listen to this, right? Like,
for sure.
Yeah. Well, you know, he had the Carter 5 as well.
I heard this as well. Yes, I heard that as well. Yeah, I heard that as well, and I believe it because he's explained it. He doesn't even like hip hop. He just likes having things that other people don't have. Yeah. So I could see that.
Well, he made like a challenge video against Wu-Tang at one point where
against Ghostface. I remember that.
That was so crazy.
That was a hot mess. So I kind of like that they're including like the vinyl. That's a lot of value out of a comic.
Yeah, they're picking pretty big artists too. Like so Blake Schwarzenbach, if that's how you say his last name. He was in a band called Jawbreaker, or is in a band called Jawbreaker. They were pretty big for a while, but then there's like a newer kind of like emo alternative band called Joyce Manor. So you've got both of them writing a track for the comic itself, which I think is like a unique way to like draw upon people that don't typically read comics. I definitely think it's worth checking out. It's hard to know like what like where the series is going to go and like if I'm going to continue to like it. But like one of the very first pages is the main character reading the back of a Daryl Hall and John Oates vinyl, like skimming through the songs.
Hall and Oates, baby.
Yeah. So like you're starting out a punk rock comic with Hall and Oates, which I feel like is just so epic. And completely left field for me.
I can't go for that.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, hopefully they're going to draw in some Hall & Oates fans as well.
Maybe they just have a cameo of either Hall & Oates just in there in the comic.
That's the final reveal. They're like the villains.
They're the villains.
Yeah.
That'd be
funny. Which cover did you get?
I got so that's another cool thing is I believe they have at least 4 variations of the comic. And the main one, if you look it up online, it shows like this house.
So are they expecting, not expecting, but like, are they encouraging people to try to collect the different covers, basically?
I think so, because each cover is by a different artist. So the main one's just like a house, and it kind of looks abandoned, like it looks like a hideout. But I got one of the main character, Sid, and she's pregnant in the series. There's a spinning vinyl, and she's just like pointing a gun, but she looks really epic.
Oh, nice.
You can kind of see it here.
I picked this one up too, AJ. I don't know if I told you that. And I read it. I thought it was cool. The cover I got, it's a black cover with red, and it's the the pig masking.
Yeah,
Alex. Yeah, it's like one of their masks in all red on the front. Which the story, like, I don't know if you want to get into that. The story is wild. Like, a lot of people thought it was confusing based on what I've heard. I'd be very curious to hear your take on it.
So I don't want to spoil too much, but I'll ask you in a second, Josh. But I thought like the beginning of this comic kind of starts out with like this crew, like they clearly like they live in this like abandoned post-apocalyptic kind of wasteland, and they like hang out in a record shop. And I kind of thought that it was going to start with like, oh, these people are going to slowly kind of like break out and like find other survivors in this area, and you're going to see if there's like zombies or something. But I just feel like, yeah, there's like what Josh said, there's a cover with like these people with these like pig masks, and they like break out, and they're like, they look like they're like basically spying on like the hideout they're at. But anytime you like look at these people, it always shows like these shadowed strangers that look like females in cloaks. Is that like the best way you could describe it?
Yeah, like I wonder if there's really like a supernatural element to this story, because it reminded me of the I can't think of what they're called, the shadow people from the Metro series. It kind of reminded me of that. If you guys have read or played those games,
talking about the game, right?
Or the
book,
or the book, yeah.
But it made me think of that. There's like these weird shadow people.
We play video games over here.
Yeah,
baby.
I can't tell if the shadow people in it are the pig mask people or if they're separate things.
Yeah,
because I feel like you never see both of them at the same time.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, and like that was the thing that picked up on me. The cover, like the art style is like beautiful. I've personally never seen a comic with like this type of shading. I guess the closest comparison I could think of is like the series Paper Girls, by Brian Bond.
It reminds, just on the cover art, it kind of reminds me of this game. I think it's called like The World Ends With You. I think that's the name of it. But it reminds me of that kind of like art style almost. It's like, but that one it's still more unique than that. So
yeah, like each like panel, it's typically like whatever shade of color they use. Like that's like the variation of the whole thing. So if like it's a shade of purple, like everyone's purple in it. But from what I can see with the series, like there seems to be like this kind of cool, like it's like cool indie punk kids that like I don't know, they're just like living in this crazy world and like trying to just like deal with also like current day-to-day like coming of age problems. I don't know, like if you're a fan of like punk music, like there's just so many references to bands in here, and like I felt like after like every few pages I like wanted to pause and like look up a band or like music reference that they have. And I feel like that sounds
cool. almost like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, but I don't think that's based on real music, right? That was just kind of based on like the genre, like a genres of music, right? If I'm not mistaken, like because from what you're describing, it almost sounds like they kind of little bit breaking of the fourth wall, kind of with referencing real bands and real artists and stuff like that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So in this, they are breaking the fourth wall in the sense that all the artists are real,
Yeah.
and each song is real. Scott Pilgrim is a little more unique because, like in the movie, the band Black Sheep, which is like his ex girlfriend's like main band, they're a fake band, but they're they're performed by the band Metric. So like
Oh,
so like it's like fake
I didn't
bands in
know.
Scott Pilgrim,
Wow.
but then like performed by real artists. Um, so like I get it's hard to say. It's like is it fake then? Because it's Metric. Like
No, I know what you mean. It's like
yeah
yeah. I mean, I guess yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point.
yeah. But I don't know. I feel like this comic series is definitely like it's definitely worth checking out if you either aren't a fan of comics or if you love music and you love like I don't know. I guess like mystery because it's like the main character is like basically like on like I don't know. I'm trying to not spoil stuff. It's like the main character basically like goes missing,
Yeah.
and nobody knows how she went missing or like what happened. Like, did she run away? Did someone like take her? Like, was she killed? And I just feel like I have absolutely no idea the direction that this comic is going to go.
That's good.
Do
That's a
you?
good thing.
Yeah, Josh, do you feel like this is predictable, or do you feel like it was just pretty?
No, it's what's the word? In medias res. So like you're in the middle of it, you have no idea what's going on. Um, there are, I don't. Yeah, I also don't want to spoil it, but there are things about this world where right away I was like, oh, like that's very interesting. That in this world, in this story, like their world operates in a certain way.
It's part of the MCU. There, I spoiled it.
Oh man, there it is. But
No.
You spoiled it.
I'm curious
Come
to
on,
see.
I'm
AJ.
kidding.
I'm curious
I'm
to see
kidding.
where
I'm
it goes.
Yeah, Doctor Strange actually showed up at the end, and he
everything,
kidnapped a pregnant woman. And he
everything
said,
will just, yeah.
he said, I specifically need Joyce Manor to release the song. Um,
Everything is essentially just going to be absorbed by Disney and be part of the MCU. So just yeah.
Basically, yeah.
by the next issue.
But no, it's a cool series. I'm glad you pulled it. I'm glad we're talking about it because it definitely I think it deserves love for people to hear
Yeah,
about it.
I seriously recommend it, especially for people that again like are either like new to comics or they haven't like read comics in a while and just like want to jump on a new series. But outside of that, like I just wanted to go over my pull list really quick, which is basically comics that I'm looking at, hopefully pulling for this current week. And I don't know if either of you have heard of this one. I found by Vault Comics called Radio Apocalypse One,
I've
like
heard of
issue
No.
it. I
one.
have not read it. I don't know if is it issue 1?
Yeah, issue number one.
Okay.
So I'll just read like the first line of the description, but this one sounds pretty crazy too. Long after the rock out of space struck the world and turned it all to dust, in Bakerstown stands the last radio station on the planet. Um, so it's like I feel like it's another like crazy post-apocalyptic music-based comic, and I'm just like, if there's two of them coming out around the same time, I feel like I need to read both of them and see which one's better.
Nice. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'd never heard of Alt Comics, so that's new to me. And then the other one was so they have a new series that came out, I think, in the summer for Batman called Batman Secret Files, and each issue is a standalone issue, which is kind of cool. So you could technically start at any
At any
version
point.
of the series.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this one's called The Gardener. Um, and it's she is shrouded in mystery, her motives a secret, and one cannot help but ask who is Bella Garten, aka the Gardener. So like if I'm correct, I think this is a completely new villain or anti-hero.
Yeah, she's
So
been in the current Fear State run that they're doing for Batman.
okay.
That issue dropped this week. I don't know if your LCS got it or not. I picked it up.
I'm gonna look.
The cover was beautiful. I've heard good things about it. The artwork is really nice. But yeah, she is a new character in the whole Batman world.
Yeah, I'm gonna check tomorrow, but I'm excited to check these two comics out. So yeah, Batman Secret Files, The Gardener number one, and then Radio Apocalypse issue one. Yeah, Josh, what are you planning to read this week?
All right, so you mentioned pull list, and I said LCS. For those of you who aren't well versed in comic book lingo, I'm still learning this stuff too. LCS is your local comic shop, and your pull list is the comics you want your shop to hold for you for when the next time you come in. It's kind of like
hostage, or
it's
just
kind of like a
reserve
pre-order.
it?
It's like, hey, I want
Okay.
this, and this.
It's like you're just walking there and be like, you will hold this for me.
I
or
mean,
else.
yeah, you could do that. Who knows what they'll do? Typically, an LCS does it for their more regular customers.
Sure.
My pull list for this upcoming week from DC, I pull a lot of DC. Batman Reptilian #6. Book is really weird, but also good. I have a bunch of Fear State tie-ins. Catwoman #37, Detective Comics 1045, and Harley Quinn #9. There's also DC versus Vampires #2, Deathstroke
Are any of
Inc.
these issues that you can start currently? Or are they like
These are all
continuous?
ongoing series.
Okay.
So like DC versus Vampires #2, it's only the second issue. It's a limited series, so you could pick that one up and jump in.
That
DC
sounds
versus
pretty awesome.
Vampires.
Yeah.
I love that.
There's Deathstroke Inc. #3, Robin #8, Task Force Z #2. So that's another limited series, only #2. Wonder Woman Black and Gold #6. From Marvel, the only thing I'm pulling this upcoming week is Hawkeye Kate Bishop #1. So that'd be kind of fun to read before the series.
Is this a new series? Is this a based off the series?
I'm not sure. I don't know anything about the character, to be honest. So I just want to check it out.
Kate Bishop?
See. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think all I know is that I think she's an integral part of the Young Avengers.
Yeah.
She's one of the that's about the nicest thing I think there is to say about her right now. That she's a young Avenger.
And then to top off my list from Top Cow / Image, I have Saint Mercy #4 and Echolands #4. I'd be curious to see like what our listeners are pulling. Like if you have a pull list, if you're pulling any of these titles, and if so, which one of these would you like to hear about in the next episode? And then going on from there, then I'm going to talk about a book I pulled this week, which was Superman, Son of Kal-El #5. And this one's written by Tom Taylor, who is most known for Deceased and Injustice. He also is currently working on Dark Knights of Steel. And then he's also working on a Marvel series, Dark Ages.
Now, aren't they making? So he worked on Injustice.
He did the comics for Injustice. A lot.
That's what I was going to ask.
Right.
Okay, because I think now they're making. I think they're making a TV show.
They made an animated movie.
A movie? It was a movie.
Yeah. Which
was it based off the comic?
That's a whole other conversation. If people want to hear about that, maybe we can get into it. I watched like 20 minutes of it. Wasn't the biggest fan. But if people want to hear about it, maybe we can break it down in the future.
Sure.
But I love Tom Taylor. I'm a Tom Taylor fanboy. Reading his stuff is what got me back into comics, especially during COVID. He's cool. Really good at creating these grand scale Elseworld stories. So he's done like zombies in the DC world. He obviously did Injustice. He's just really great at making these stories where you see these well-known characters in totally different scenarios than what we're used to. So I'm a big fan of that. His writing on this has been solid. I've really enjoyed the character development he's doing with Jonathan Kent, who I was introduced to through reading Deceased. So that's why when I saw he was writing this, I jumped on right away and added it to my pull list.
Is there like an issue of his that you would recommend or a series to start with for like people who don't know about his comics?
I would say go with Deceased. It's a cool, fun story. And that's what got me Deceased. Yeah, it's like,
oh, I see it right here.
Yep, Deceased. There's a couple sequels as well. It's a fun story. Got me into comics. Cool. John Timms is the artist. I'm not as familiar with him. His art's been pretty good. The characters, especially the faces, haven't been as detailed as I prefer. But that's, comic books, it's all a matter of preference, what kind of art you like. His art just, it's been solid. I really like the character design of Jonathan Kent. So that's been cool to see that. The series itself, it's about Jonathan Kent, the son of Superman. And he's a teenager. He wants to fix everything around him. He tells his dad that he wants to focus on the bigger picture. He's tired of, fighting, punching the bad guys. So you see him going after things like climate change, dealing with forest fires. He goes to a protest. He actually allows himself to get arrested. I guess the villain so far that's slowly being developed would be a guy named Henry Bendix, who is the president of this country called Gamora. And it's kind of like a North Korea type of situation, Cuba type of situation, where you have like this tyrannical, like all powerful government. And what ends up happening is you have these refugees who are fleeing Gamora on a boat. They hit some stormy waters. They're going to drown. The issue is nobody wants to help them because nobody wants to get on the bad side of Gamora or Bendix. And so Jonathan Kent says, I don't care. I'm going to go save these people. There are some political ramifications for this action, and it slowly starts to pull Bendix into the story as the villain. And then that takes us to this current issue, number 5, where it picks off where Jonathan in issue 4 had an encounter with Bendix, and he's suffering those effects where he's overpowered right now. And it starts off like this one comic called Astro City, where you have the Superman type character who goes around saving people all day long. And he's so fast, he can get from like New York to Tokyo in like 30 seconds type of thing.
I could do it faster.
And he spends all day counting mentally how much time he spends flying. And it's significant because he loves flying and like he dreams of flying all the time when he's asleep. And by the end of the day of saving people, he flies for maybe like 2 minutes or something like that. And so this comic reminded me of that a little bit, where he's just going around trying to save everybody. And then the big moment that people have been waiting for is that he ends up kissing his friend Jay. And this is the issue where John, it's made known that he's bisexual. And some people thought the whole kissing scene was kind of rushed and awkward. My opinion was he's a teenager. He's, coming out, at least in this situation, as being bi. And
he's a teenager in the series?
Yeah. And as far as I know, this is his first kiss as he's exploring his sexuality. And it's like, what first kiss isn't awkward? So I thought that was fine. Other cool thing about it is there's a character in this who we saw in the previous issue called the Airy. And the Airy is a non-binary character who I first saw in Tom Taylor's Deceased. So it was kind of cool to see that character brought back by Tom Taylor. Especially since we're exploring some LGBTQ stuff in this series. And that brings me to talk about how the whole series is talking about things like climate change, immigration, LGBTQ plus issues, and it's all through the lens of this youthful optimism. And I think a lot of older fans aren't digging this, but I think part of that is that this series is geared towards a younger generation.
Yeah.
I think it's towards like a Gen Z, like the TikTok generation. Yeah. Because these are all things they really care about. And I think that's cool. This could one day, 10 years from now, be a nostalgic run for somebody who is 13 years old right now.
13 years old, yeah.
And the other thing is that Jonathan, he's essentially a god, but he's a teenager. And so, of course, he wants to try to fix everything. Like, what person, from like their teen years to their early 20s doesn't think that they know everything, that they can fix everything, that they know what's best?
And when you have superpowers, then you really don't know any better.
Exactly.
That's supercharged.
It tracks. And a lot of people are thinking this is like SJW BS. Like they think, it's too political. He's a teenager. Like he's going to do what he thinks he should be doing. And he's basically
I think this issue sounds cool. And I think sometimes comic readers forget that not every series is catered specifically to them. And there should be
tell people that.
Yeah, sorry, everything's catered to you.
Yeah, don't tell people that.
Spoiler alert.
I feel like
that's the epiphany right there.
I feel like there should constantly be like a run of comics geared towards the next generation of readers, because it's like I feel like we all have comics or books or movies that we grew up on when we were little and we're nostalgic about now, but they were catered to us then.
Right, and like the other thing is is that it's important for an industry, if they want to survive, that you appeal to your future fans.
Yeah, I mean, this is a new character as far as I know, right? Jonathan.
Yeah, like
Jonathan
he's been around for like 5 years maybe, but he was a little kid.
Okay.
And so, I know some
this
people,
is a newer,
that we're exploring his character now.
Right. So it's one of those things where it's like, if you hear this and it's not like, wow, this is not for me. It's like, well, yeah, it's not for you then.
Right. And like some people are like, oh, like that's not my Superman. They're making Superman gay.
Well, it's not Superman.
It's like, no, like it's his son. Because actually in this series, Superman has left Earth to go to, it ties into another series. I think he's going to War World or something. So he's gone. So
he needs a break.
Jonathan is Superman now.
War World.
Like the world needs Superman. The son of Superman fits the bill for that.
But he's not fighting for the interests of I guess you could call it the good and bad that we're used to. He's fighting more social changes and I see.
Which makes sense. Like he's a teenager and teenagers, right? Like that's what people care about.
I guess conceptually it is different because, Superman has these powers and he's doing these things that ultimately aren't making mankind better, I guess you can say, right? Like he's not like he's helping individuals, but he's not helping mankind. So I guess as a concept, I think that's what that's probably trying to address from what it sounds like. That
right.
And this Superman, he's, you know what I mean?
There was a conversation where Jonathan and his father, Superman, they're actually on the moon, just chilling on the moon talking. And that comes up.
As most people
as you do. And they're talking about that stuff.
Yeah, as most people
Jonathan saying, I want to tackle the big issues. And that's where this is going. And to recap the state of DC right now, before we started recording, AJ, you and I were talking about this, but the trinity of DC right now, it's really interesting that you have Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. Your current Wonder Woman is Brazilian. Your current Batman is a black man. And your current Superman is a bisexual teenager.
Right.
Now, while it would be so cool and, kind of ballsy for DC to make new characters to represent these different types of people, I do think the second best thing is for us to see the mantle passed on and have this representation. Yeah, because it does matter. Like it's cool to see someone who looks like you as your favorite hero.
Well, what we were talking about, Alex, earlier before we were doing our testing is I was telling Josh that I wish there was a space for whatever minority group feels like it's ignored. I mean, we all are into comics and that kind of stuff. I mean, for the most part, comic books are predominantly white, right? So I think where it's so interesting is when you see someone say, okay, we're making Black Batman. And for me personally, as a Black person, I'm always like, well, I mean, you could just make a different hero. I mean, you can make a hero that it could be inspired by Batman. It doesn't have to be Bat. Like, why does he have to put the bat suit on? That's my thing. Like the bat suit, that's some real commitment to a change. Like, I'm also gonna put on the bat suit like that. For me, I guess on a personal level, right? If there was this Iron Man, and then they wanted to, I don't know, say Iron Man wanted to pass the mantle. I just don't really think that passing the mantle means I have to take on your baggage too. Let me be my own character. Let me be my own, similar. I think you mentioned earlier that Ironheart is essentially the replacement for Iron Man. Well, it's a different character, and we know that because her name is different. And so, like, I feel like comic books or Marvel or DC, whatever direction they want to take their heroes, I would just love a space for different heroes, right? I think that, in this situation with John Kent, I feel like, well, I mean, he's not Superman, right? Superman stands for something different than what he stands for. So, let him be his own hero. Let him be his own person. In my mind, it's just like that's the goal, right? To give this person their own identity. So why try to merge it with something else? That's how I kind of look at it.
And yeah, no, I think you put it perfectly. Like,
Yeah,
let
I
this
like that
character
too.
be his own. I don't know, Alex, if you have any other thoughts on that.
No, I'm mostly there. I mean, I think I'm fine when they do like standalone versions of like a series, but it's like an alternate universe type of thing. You know, like I guess like Miles Morales type, like with Spider-Man. But I guess that's still a different character, isn't it? Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean that's
Like
the
I
thing.
like,
It's
yeah,
funny you said that because we also talked about that as well. That like Miles Morales is, for all intents and purposes, his own Spider-Man. It's his own. I mean, he doesn't even have the same powers as Spider-Man. So it, you know, that's an example if it done well. That it's like yes, he shares Spider-Man's name, but there's nothing. It's not like Spider-Man passed down a torch or a
yeah.
mantle. He's his own person. He's his
See,
own
I like
character.
that. I think it's just kind of up to like DC and Marvel and all these series to like, or these brands to push more resources into the new names. Like, uh, no one's gonna know about uh, I mean, I get like with Miles Morales, they're like doing like they did like the video game spinoff, and I'm sure they'll probably eventually introduce him into the movies. But then it's kind of up to
Yeah,
them.
that's
It's like,
inevitable. I mean, they've
yeah,
already kind of teased it with Spider-Man. Donald Glover plays his uncle,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they've already dropped that little again those little bread flakes. They've already dropped those in there already.
I still
So
want. I wish we could just go back to 2011 and have Donald Glover like be Miles.
be
Like
yeah, that'd be awesome.
that's like
That'd
my
be cool.
dream. But he's like a rapper like on the side, and he just like he doesn't do like Gambino songs, but they
But
sound
that's an
like him.
example. But that's an example of kind of what I'm talking about. It's like letting these characters be their individual person and not trying to assimilate their identity with the pre-existing IP. I just feel like that's I on a personal level. That's how I feel. I'm just you know what it feels like. Sometimes it just feels like okay, Black Superman, right? I think it was rumored that when DC wasn't sure if Henry Cavill was going to be able to come back to play Superman, they were going to try to replace him with a black actor, and it just seemed like it was just for the purpose of putting a person of color in their movie. And I'm just like,
Well,
why?
there is a Black Superman in the comics though, and there's a current Justice League run where it's really complicated, but there's the Omniverse, and so there's a universe. There's a Justice League comprised of different universes, and the leader of that Justice League is Black Superman, who's also the president, I believe.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But that what?
Yeah, yep.
Oh, is it Barry? Is it Barack Obama? Is that no? But in my mind, I'm just kind of So I'll give another example, right? So in DC Comics, traditionally, Green Lantern, the role of the Green Lantern changes, right? That's why there's different Green Lanterns, right? There's
Oh, dude, there's like 6 Green Lanterns from Earth now.
There's a lot of Green Lanterns, but it's also
there's
because
always so many Green Lanterns.
But that's the series, right? Literally, the Green Lantern cannot be the Green Lantern forever,
right?
And so they don't want to be the Green Lantern forever.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
That makes sense in the sense, but Batman is like think about it. Look at it from this perspective, right? Batman is born from revenge. Like he has such a specific storyline that it's like just make a different person, right? Superman has a very specific a storyline, right? Like just make a different character. You know what I mean? That's all I'm trying to say. It's okay. I mean, he can be Superman, like you said in this case, where our idea of Superman has left Earth, and now his son is left to fill that role. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
But I just think the idea of just like doing, just a swap, just a swap for a woman or a someone who's gay or someone who's black. I just feel like, okay, well, you're not giving them their own identity. You're just copy and pasting a little bit.
I guess we'll have to see what happens with that Batman issue. It's not out yet, right?
Which one?
The one with Lucius.
Oh, it's currently out right now. It's I Am Batman.
Oh, it is.
Okay.
I would say I'd have to read it and see, like, for myself.
Yeah, maybe when it goes to trade, that's
happening.
something we could talk about and like get more into like the whole identity aspect of comics. I think it's an exciting time to be in comics. Like the industry's opened up to diversity, I think, which is one of those trigger words or keywords or whatever, depending on who you are. I think it's exciting. I'm excited to see where this series goes. And maybe it's a topic we can revisit in the future.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess with that, if you guys who are listening have any thoughts or comments about The Son of Kal-El #5, message us, tweet us, comment, etc. Let us know what you're thinking, what you're liking, what you're not liking. If you say something we really like, maybe we'll read it off
from here
on the next episode. What's up?
Yeah. I said, and don't forget, what's the furthest place from here?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Anything we talked about, really, between that stuff, the Disney Plus Day stuff, Wheel of Time. Let us know what you think about it. If you leave us a good comment or a message or tweet or whatever, maybe we'll read it in the next episode. Get some interaction with that. With that, that's it for the show. If you liked what you heard, subscribe so you can stay up to date on all of our content. And then gently press that like button. If you didn't like the episode, smash the dislike button. If you're on a platform that allows it, not you, Spotify, drop us a comment and or rating to tell us what you thought. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Bandwagon Fan Pod, as well as on Facebook/YouTube at The Bandwagon Fan. You can find episodes wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you in the next one.